Well, this is Pap. We laid our good friend Dr. George Day to rest this past Thursday. He was 85 years old. He was this town's first medical doctor. He practiced for 62 years. He was the city's first mayor. He was my friend, and he was everybody's friend. He was just an absolute great guy. I want to make this video primarily for the families of Dr. George Day and Toppy Russell. Larry Tom Davis and I took Doc down to see Toppy the Saturday before he passed away. Well, this is Pap, and I really hope the family enjoys this video.
I never saw him play, but I saw the Fabulous Five play after they graduated. They was on tour. They went on tour, and they played LMU. Ronnie Bryant was playing.
Ronell was, he could play with him, couldn't he?
No,
Really?
They beat LMU like 80-something, 20-something.
Down there was
That was Toad Dunn's service station right there.
Right here,
and Elmer Branscombe had a little building right sit right in there.
and down there was the brothers. What they had a store down there.
I made a house call right there up here one time. It was a big two-story house sit right in there. It's gone now. That was told my daddy. You wasn't in.
I said, I used to stop there and talk to him. He'd tell me a bunch of tales,
Yeah.
but I'm not too sure all of them was exactly right.
Well, that's when you retell it, you can embellish it if you want to.
Yeah.
Hey, Toppy. You're getting around without one of these. I've had to start using one lately.
Sold on my shoulder there, buddy.
How you doing?
I'm just barely, come on in, boys. I'm just barely doing. How are you?
Well, just, as you can see, I'm just barely doing.
I'm just barely doing.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're about
Up
that.
at Dennis Chumley.
Dennis Chumley. I was your telephone man for years.
Yeah.
And I married Ty Harbor's daughter.
Yeah. Come on in, boys. Come on in. You fulfilled good timber. You know, I don't remember who wrote it, but I remember your mother quoting it. The tree that never had to fight for sun or sky or air or light, that lived out in the open plain and always got its share of rain, never became a forest king, but lived and died a scrubby thing. The man who never had to toil to earn and farm his patch of soil, who never had to earn his share of sun and sky and light and air, never became a manly man, but lived and died as he began. And now you.
Yeah.
Good timber does not grow in ease, stronger the wind, tougher the trees, further the sky, the greater the length, more the storm, the more the strength. In sun or cold, in rain or snow, in tree or man, good timber grows. Where thickest stands the forest growth, you'll find the patriarchs of both. And they hold converse with the stars, whose broken branches bear the scars of many winds and of great strife. This is the common law of life. Now, that was the way it was. Your mother, I guess she instilled in you that desire to learn.
Yeah, I guess so.
And you were very fortunate because your dad and mother had prepared for that.
Yeah, of course, the difference was, Toppy, I believe now, the bet it's like 43,000. That's what it was about 2 years ago. I believe that was the last meeting I went to.
Man.
And the med school students, saying it was about 49,000, about 50,000 a year up here in Decon. Now, that doesn't count housing and stuff.
That's a lot of money.
It really is. I don't see how they're gonna make it. I mean,
Well, I don't either.
if you get into heart surgery or something, it's gonna tell them how much you're gonna owe because, well, you get a residency, that quits costing you money. They can pay you a little something for that. When I was an intern,
What did they pay you, George?
when I was an intern, because I was married, that made $25 a month difference. Boys that weren't married were making $300 a month, and I was making $325. And
But you could buy an automobile pretty cheap, $1,600-$1,700.
I bought a new Ford. They used to have a Ford dealership. You remember it up at Ewing?
Yeah, I remember that.
Bought a new Ford right there. When I got out of medical school, and it cost me $1,825.
$1,825.
It had a radio on it and a heater. That was it. But yeah, I drove that car so it wouldn't drive, and I traded it in. But yeah, it's just a different time.
Different time.
Talking about that rabies, you used to have to give 14 shots,
Yeah,
and they gave them
stomach.
yeah.
In this area here, the abdomen.
They was a family down lived down in here somewhere. I believe they were Hunleys, and they was a mad fox came in their woodlot when they was up there cutting, chopping up wood, and their daddy killed it with an axe, and they decided there was about 3 or 4 of those kids, and they decided to skin that fox. And back then, now they was talking about learning. It probably wouldn't have hurt them if we just let it alone, because it's got to come from the saliva. I had a fellow lived up there just before you turned down toward Earl's Holler. He lived the next holler down, and he had a cow that got rabies, and they had milked the cow and drunk the milk, and of course that I thought they'd have to take shots, but I called the health department in Nashville and told them what happened, and they said they didn't need the shots.
Didn't need the shot.
But,
Well, the only way they...
one other time, I had a fellow that I was giving those shots to around the belly, and you know that they were bad, and they got worse. You could tell right where you'd given the previous shot, because they'd get red. You'd give another one next day right beside it, just like a clock go round and around. And it by about the 7th or 8th shot, this guy said, "I'm just not going to take it anymore. If rabies kills me, it'll kill me." But I guess we got enough vaccine in him, 7 or 8 shots, and he didn't get it.
Now the word hydro means water. Word phobia means fear. So anything that has rabies, when they come to water, they can't.
They won't drink.
They can't do it, can they?
you had external beam radiation. They did all yours from the outside.
Yeah, they did both sides, and Dr. Bertoli in Knoxville, UT, was the man that gave me the 38 radiation treatments.
Well, what they're doing now, I've had several patients, some from Dr. White, uh, they'll give you, when they sit down and talk to you, you get prostate cancer. I know just about what happened. They sit down and talk to you and gave you all these options. One, do nothing. That's the first option. Just do nothing. You're going to live 15 years if we don't even treat it. If you're a young man, you don't want to accept that. If you're our age, you accept that. And you can have external beam radiation like you had, and you can have surgery. And now they've got it where you take it out with a robot, you know. And it used to be one of the bloodiest surgeries there was. And now there's about 5 cc's of blood all you lose with that robot.
I went to Hatcher.
But I was getting around to saying, on the radiation is the other thing, and they put these radium seeds in around your prostate.
Yeah.
And if you take an X-ray of that, it looks like somebody had been shot with a shotgun, bird shot.
Yeah.
There must be 100 of them in there, and they just slowly. I don't think they cause near the trouble that like you had.
They had no way to shield the bulbourethra or the colorectal area at that time.
Yeah.
They tell me they have some way of doing a little bit of shielding now.
Yeah, I think they do. But I really think they're more getting into that rating, at least the urologist that I refer to, more and more getting into use those radium seeds. You don't have near the complications from it or the sickness.
Well, it's changing fast. I don't see how you fellows in the medical profession, I don't see how you kept up with it, George. It's changing so fast. And there's so many things coming out. She read Macbeth to us, till Burnham Wood shall come to Dunsinane.
Yeah.
You know, out down spot.
Yeah, that was fun, yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't come off, would it?
No, it wouldn't come off. She couldn't wash the blood off. And when Burnham Wood came to Dunsinane, you know, the army came through Burnham Wood. They broke a branch off, and they all disguised themselves till they got to the castle Dunsinane.
Yeah.
And the queen of the witches, Hecate, she told Macbeth that he'd never be killed or slain by any man born to woman. And supposedly, according to the writer, which I guess it was Shakespeare, Stratford on the Avon, some people says it was Roger Bacon. But anyway, that was supposedly the first cesarean that ever been performed.
Cesarean.
So he didn't die of a man born to woman. Yeah. George, how are you getting along pretty good?
Well, I had to retire actually just about a week or so ago.
Well, you were too young to retire.
I went just as long as I could. I did it 62 years, Toppy.
62 years?
Yeah.
My.
I started up there when I was 23 years old. And
you were a lot more younger than us. You double promoted, didn't you?
yeah, I got double promoted a couple of times.
Yeah. My sister was valedictorian, and my niece Jean was valedictorian, and I didn't do too well. I got through, you know, but I did better in your mother's class of literature than I did anything I did.
Yeah.
All I had on my mind was chasing a basketball, George.
Yeah, well, you were good at that. I mean, that's
Well,
totally.
not as good as him.
Yeah.
He got the scholarship. Of course, LMU offered me one, Dean Bailey, but the only reason they offered me one was to get Ben Esri, in my opinion. Now, see,
Coaches will do that, you know.
We got through playing Tazewell, Cleveland County High, and we beat them 36 points. That's pretty bad beating.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Ty Harbor, he rubbed it in just a little, you know, on,
Yeah.
on the Tazewell crowd. Yeah,
Yeah, Ty was his father-in-law.
yeah, that's what I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, bless his heart, I fished many of a Saturday with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he loved to fish. Yeah. I remember one time Ben and I, late October, we went into Greasy Hollow, and I caught a 5 or 6 pound walleye, and it was not a Saturday, it was a school day. And I told Ben, I said, now the only way we'll get out of this is we take this and give it to Ty. And we took it and give it to him. God darn you boys, laying out of school like that and the fishing, and you didn't ask me to go with you. You didn't invite me. Yeah.
That sounds like
George, how many children have you got?
3.
3 children.
3, yeah.
Did you pass all your good characteristics on to those children?
Well, they're all doing pretty well.
Well, good.
I've got a grandson that lives with me. He's smarter than I am. He just doesn't have much ambition. He wants to stay on that computer. He makes straight A's in college.
Yeah.
Maybe a B, maybe 1 or 2 B's, but the rest of them seem to be doing all right.
Well, that's
I
good.
talked to my granddaughter. She called me this morning about 5:30, and that's usually something bad happening when somebody calls you at 5:30. But she was up, and she knew I was up. Just wanted to talk, and she teaches Spanish up in New York, upstate New York, where it's not as populated as we are.
Yeah.
And when she was going to college, she, I know, spent 2 summers, and maybe 3, but I know 2 over in Spain with a non-English speaking family. So she got that experience. And I told her, she asked me what I was going to do today. I said, well, I'm going to come down and see you. And then I started trying to tell her a little bit about that killing in that election, over that election. I bet I wouldn't start to tell it right, but I know you told me one time over the phone.
Well, if you'd asked me 10 years ago, I could have told you.
Yeah, well, you did tell me.
But I have a memory that some things sticks in my head and some things don't, George.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
Jones? Was that Wawa Jones? Or?
Yeah.
The fabulous guy, what was his name?
Wawa Jones.
Yeah, Wallace. And he had a boy named Hugh that went to the University of Tennessee, and both of them made All-Americans. Bill almost told me he was riding back from the NCAA tournament with Ira, and said he was in the back seat with General Nayland. He's coming back. He's going to take him to Knoxville, and he said, Ira said, now, General, Wallace has already made All-American in basketball, and I wanted to be All-American in football, and you've got the connections with a sports writer, and I want Wallace to be All-American in football. Now, what do you say? Bill said General Neyland was about half drunk, and he said, went to the wrong school, went to the wrong school. And that's all he'd say. Did you see a lot of Alzheimer's before you retired?
Yeah, you know, when I was in school, that was never mentioned. They called it senile dementia.
Yeah.
And I remember the first person that I ever knew that had Alzheimer's, I had sent her to a neurologist in Knoxville, and they sent me back a letter saying what they thought, and it was Sam Clark's wife, and they said she had Alzheimer's, and Alzheimer's can not affect you too much physically. It's the mental problem. What I've got affects me, like in walking. I have a thing called Charcot-Marie-Tooth syndrome, and what it is, it's a neurological condition that affects your legs, the muscles in your legs. I don't have any.
Do the muscles sort of atrophy?
They atrophy, yeah, and but they don't. This thing doesn't kill you, and it doesn't affect you mentally. I mean, you won't be any better, but you won't be any worse because of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it sure got me aggravating about just ambulation. That's why I had to quit up there. I was getting to where I couldn't get from one room to another.
You know, we never miss the water till the well runs dry.
Yeah.
You know, what year were you at? What year did you start to medical school in Memphis? 55, 54?
55.
55. Well, I was to go in the fall of 55. And I was just sitting here thinking, I remember looking you up. Ben and I were together, Ben Esri, and you were studying intercontinental bone formation. And I just wondered if you ever had any use for osteoblasts and osteoclasts and eversion canals. I couldn't understand it. I didn't think it'd ever be worth anything.
It wasn't.
No, but you learned that.
Man, that's just something you gotta learn.
Now, you learn a lot of things. When they say commencement, that's what they mean. That's when you're commencing it, George.
Oh, Toppy, I've learned so much more since I've been up here than I ever learned in school and in internship.
Yeah.
I mean, you
The whole idea is going through medical school, it shows that you have the ability to continue on and learn everything that's happening, because so much has happened. Lord have mercy.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I got to do, fortunately, just what I wanted to do. I want to be a country doctor, and I want to do it here.
Well, that was wonderful.
And so I got through. You had to take a year's rotating internship, which I did down in Nashville General Hospital. And then just as soon as I got through that, I moved up here and started. And there's so much change in medicine.
Oh, Lord. I don't see how in the world you get it all in your head.
It's just over time, it finally soaks in, you know. I delivered babies, Toppy, for about 20 years.
Oh, boy.
About 2000.
That's a dangerous undertaking.
Oh, yeah. When I came here, see, a lot of these country people wanted to be wanted to be delivered at home because they didn't want to pay a hospital bill.
Yeah.
And when I came here, the hospital wasn't built. They were building on it, but it wasn't finished. And so I had some obstetrical patients and know where to deliver them because I wasn't taught home delivery. And so we set up there in that old house where I started. Uh, if they came in labor, either my wife or Betty Jean Johnson would sort of sit with them and make sure I'd check them between seeing patients. And when they delivered, when they got ready, I delivered them there in that old house. And the get the cord tied, get the placenta out, get the bleeding stopped, get the baby good and warm, and we'd call. You didn't have like 911. We'd either call Coffee's or Reese's, and they'd send what looked like a hearse. And that's what they used to transport. That's how we got patients transported at ambulance back then.
Yeah, the sperm comes up with half the chromosome number, the ovum comes up with half. That very fact itself, and that was all would keep us from being grotesque. If we got the 43 from each one of them, I don't know what we'd be. But if people don't believe in a creator, if they think about that, it looked like it would convince anybody, George.
Have you ever read or heard how they do flu shots as far as
Yeah, I've always wondered.
make it up? Okay, what they do? This makes sense. Uh, right now, south of the equator, they're having winter, and they're having flu.
They're going into fall of the year, yeah.
So what they do is they take the two most common strains of flu that they're having, say in Australia or South Africa or South America. Take the two most common strains, and then they guess at the third one.
The guessing.
They try to make an educated guess at the third one. So what we get is what trivalent flu vaccine we get. That's what we get. But now I don't know whether they do it or not. But if they could put the COVID in with that flu vaccine, but now that's just me thinking. I got no.
Well, I wondered the same thing.
I studied really hard for that.
Evelyn had the clipboard.
Harold Higdon was on the plane with me. There's two of us, and he was taking lessons too.
Who was that?
Harold Higdon.
Oh, Lord.
And he was taking lessons too.
Yeah.
And so we went over there to take that written test, and I told Miss Evelyn, I said, now you gotta watch that guy, he cheats. When we were in there, and she pulled her chair right up between us. And he made a 98 on the test, and I made a 96. To see a baseball game. And it was a double header. Well, we were going to see them play at night, and then a double header on Saturday night, and then a double header on Sunday, and we were going to watch both the games and come home. Well, we watched the first game, and we watched the clouds start rolling in, and I told him, I thought we ought to get on home before, the weather gets worse. Well, we left Cincinnati, and I was flying through bear in mind I didn't have my instrument ready, but you have a certain amount of instruments when you're just getting your pilot's license. And so there was little puffy clouds, a lot of dark clouds above us, but there were little puffy clouds down below. And I'd fly through them until I could see the ground. I knew there wasn't very much. And flew through them, the prouder I got of myself. And then I came up on this darker cloud, and I thought, well, I'll fly through that. It was a thunderstorm, and I promised God if I got out of that alive, I'd never get in another one. I tell you what, you cannot believe what they do to you. I mean, they'll take you up 5,000 feet, and you pushing the thing forward as much as you can, and all of a sudden they feel like you drop down, and I
When
don't
you
know
see
how
those
long.
black clouds going, you better go the other way, hadn't you?
You see a thunderstorm, you better go the other way. And I don't believe the pilot's made that could fly through one of those things and not be scared.
How in the world did you get through that?
Well, I tell you what, I knew what heading I was on coming down here, and I was wanting to make a 180 and go back to where I was. And when we were about 20 miles south of Richmond, Kentucky, on the way home, and when I broke out of that thing, I was about 500 feet above the ground with my nose going this way.
Ah,
And then I could see all under that. And we went up to Lexington and landed and spent the night. That was a Sunday afternoon, and I was wanting to get home so I could work Monday, but that was Sunday afternoon, and the weather was still terrible the next day. We caught a flight on a DC-3. You ever fly in one of those?
yeah,
You know, it's a tail dragger, but
yeah.
twin engine. It hauled about 20 passengers. My remembrance. And we caught a flight on that to London. Back then they had service to London, Kentucky if you fly DC-3. And we got our wives to come and get us. And we had to go, we got somebody to fly us back to Lexington and get your plane in a day or two when the weather got better.
When you get 88, something is going to give you trouble.
Yeah. Ecclesiastes says it's time to be born and time to die. It ain't gonna be long for us, Toppy. I don't know what's gonna get us, but something will.
Something will. There's no question about that. Man that's born to woman is a few days and full of trouble.
Yeah.
He cometh forth like a flower and is cut down, fleeth also as a shadow and continueth not. Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee, thou hast appointed his bounds which he cannot pass. And that's the way it is. I get accused of being a hard shell, George, but that's just the way I understand the scripture.
Well, you was talking about what it takes to make a baby, and you know one of the most I would get. Well, I don't know what the term is. More religious, I guess you'd say. Every time I delivered a baby, just to think that all of that got put together some way, and somebody can come along and say that's just evolution or whatever crap. I mean, there's 2,000 things that it takes to make an eye.
Think about that.
I had this girl that she's dead now, and I asked her a question. I said, Billy, you okay? She said, either way, I'm okay.
Yeah.
These guys are okay.
Oh, yeah.
And they're confident, and they know they're okay.
Yeah.
How many people get ready to meet their maker and don't feel okay?
Yeah.
It's scary, isn't it?
It's scary.
And to me, if I were hearing that, I'd make sure I was okay.
Yeah.
And they have.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
well, I've enjoyed the morning.
I didn't understand what he said. What did he say?
Said we've been really quiet, and Dennis said we've been listening.
Well, now you can learn something from George. It'd be no point in
I learned something from both of you, way back, about 30 minutes.
We learned something from you, because, we're down here. And I guess we better go, my back's hurting pretty bad.
Well, listen, boys, I declare time has flown by so fast. So fast. You know, George, it's been so good to talk to you.
Well, Toppy, it's good to see you.